Marlon from Wisse, and this is my 4.5-year-old mare Ralina. She's very sweet and gentle, but she's also very sensitive and very scared of a lot of things. She has a horse shyness. Also, when I go on a competition and I'm in the warming up arena, then she's very scared of other horses. And also when I'm in the competition arena and there's soft music, she is very afraid of. But also for obstacles or things she sees or she hears, then she's very scared, and she's very sharp in her reaction. She can go from 0 to 100 in 1 second, and then she is so scared, and there's so lot of tension in her that she can run away, or she puts herself up on her hind legs, and not a little bit but very high. It's not a soft reaction, it's always very powerful and very scared. So when I'm riding her, I must very concentrated in, what is she doing, and I really want to be more relaxed on her, that she is more relaxed. I hope that you can help me with that. Thank you.
So we see here Marlon and her young 4-year-old horse. This is not a strange sight for young dressage horses. We have a modern type horse with a high level of sensitivity, and most likely it's been, smooth sailing, looks like a sweet horse. We go through a normal standard way of starting them under saddle. They get used to something and they realize it doesn't kill them, so they go along. In most other areas around the stable, and there's a few clips there, you can see that the horse is really sweet and easy and wants to do the right thing. But of course, what's causing the reaction, the sensitivity, the spookiness, the sharpness, the explosiveness? Of course, this is the pattern that is generated by not feeling like the horse is in control of themselves in this situation. They have a pattern in their body that doesn't allow them to move in a way that they can relax first and then give the impulsion. They are in a pattern of giving tension first and then moving, which is switching on the predict and protect, the flight mode, and therefore it's very difficult for them to find an order of movement where they have connection. When they're in this flight mode, they become disconnected with the body, and this is why we get the uncertainty and then the reaction. When a horse is in a pattern or an order of movement that's not serving them, because they're not having yet the knowledge of finding a connection which allows them to relax, the rider then has to go into the management. So the rider is now trying to control the situation, trying to calm the horse, trying to keep the horse straight on the track, trying to prevent the explosion. All the while, this feeling in the rider's body of also now predict, protect, control gets emphasized also in the horse's body. So the horse feels even less like he's being in control and more like he's being controlled, which of course adds more tension to the situation. So from the beginning, this is not something that can be solved directly in the riding. It's not that we say, we ride with one hand a little bit higher here and we are a little bit lighter in our seat, and you have to pat him in this moment and then he knows how to relax. Because of course, it's this underlying program in his body that's not serving him that we have to change. It's there because he doesn't have another program, another way of moving that's going to give him comfort. When we have a horse in a fear state, the first thing that happens is we get a disconnect in the body. So on the ground, we can then teach the horse a way of connecting in the body, which allows him to come back to a control state when he starts to feel a little bit of tension. And you see the way the horse is moving, that there is a disconnect between front and back. The tension, of course, breaks up the body, that each leg is kind of doing something different. When you don't have a connection with your body, you don't know what your left leg is doing, you don't know what your right hand is doing, you start to get insecure because you don't have a connection with your body. This means you start to get into your mind. Same with the horse, he gets tense, he starts to scan and see what the dangerous things are, and they build up in his mind, and then it causes the reaction. It can seem like it comes out of nowhere, but it's slowly something that builds up. We don't recognize the signs early on, and then this explosion comes through the build-up of tension and not knowing what to do until we cannot manage it ourselves anymore, and therefore, of course, the horse can't manage it. Through the groundwork in building this connection, we're able to turn this pressure gauge off. You see that the horse is not laterally connected, so inside hind, outside front, creates this nice direction of energy, allows the horse to move in an optimal way, which is relaxation, flexion, open the front and engage the hind. This horse is going with tension, and so there's no relaxation. There's no flexion because of the tension. The rider has to control the energy because now the front legs are getting closed, and then the hind leg is delivering energy. And then the rider has to restrain and contain that energy to stop something bad from happening. So the first part is getting this good connection in the body, that the horse finds a way of connecting, knows what that connection is so he can be relaxed. He knows how to bring himself back to a point of stability through the connection in his body. We know the pattern in order to help him back there. How does he get from a tension state to a relaxed state? Knowing what to do is half of the job of getting your horse relaxed and out of that difficult situation. And then, of course, through that new guidance pattern, that new order of movement that's now serving him, we can then start to let him experience the things in the environment that in the past have got him into a reaction state. So we can check that he's able to come back to this good connection, that a trigger of noise or movement, whether that be the element of movement that you do in a groundwork exercise, which will be related to the movement of another horse in the warming up. He has to know what to do in the presence of that, and he has to know when he starts to lose connection and how he can find himself back to a state of self-regulation and self-management. The other important step, once we recognize those elements, teach him what to do in the body, and then be able to transfer that into the riding. Because what can often happen is we build a new pattern, we get them to understand how to manage themselves in the presence of the things that were getting them reactive before, and then we get on and ride, and they have this preconceived idea of what they did as a riding horse, and they can be completely relaxed, knowing what to do on the ground. We put saddle, bridle, rider on, and all of a sudden you have the old pattern back again. So it's very important that when we get on, we can go through the same pattern that we did on the ground in the riding, that they make the connection, oh, this is the same feeling I'm looking for in the riding as I have already on the ground. And then we go through a simulation of the same elements. It might be noise, it might be movement, which it seems this way in this case, and that we can simulate that also in the riding, and we can prepare the horse for the things he will experience when we go to the show. When we go to a competition or an environment where there's lots of things happening, like a warm-up arena, or like riding in a dressage arena where there's a track to follow and there may be a judge's box or a flag or things in the environment that may trigger the horse to not be able to manage the situation, we have to make sure that we've already prepared before we go there. And not that when we're there we realize, oh, I haven't given him this piece of information. Now I have to deal with the fact that he's not knowing what to do. And then you both get in a sticky situation. So it's just going back, building a new operational system, a good connection in his body. Use that connection in his body in order for him to have stability, a connection to the body so he doesn't get in his worried head, and then test that with the elements that are triggering him into flight, and that you can teach him that he knows what to do with himself in the presence of those things, and then he starts to feel like he's in control, not like he's being controlled, and you don't have to feel like you have to control the situation as well.